Chapter 3 of Nicholas, A Manhattan Christmas Story by Carroll Moore. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Down Fifth Avenue.
The loveliest window I know is in a flower shop opposite the library,
said Anne Carraway.
I see a new flower every time I look in, and Nicholas, one of the oldest fairies on Murray Hill, lives under that big lacy fern. We will go there for our Christmas roses. What color shall we choose for O'Brien?
She asked as they entered the shop.
A pink one for Lucky and a red one for O'Brien,
said Nicholas.
And be sure, Anne Carraway, that they smell like roses. I like the smell of a red rose best.
John Moon offered to take the roses back across Fifth Avenue if Nicholas and Anne Carraway would choose a present for him in one of the windows of the favorite. They were not to buy it until he came back, he said, as he might not like their choice of a present. But there were so many other people looking for presents in every single one of the 10 windows of the favorite that Nicholas and Anne Carraway could see nothing at all. So they waited for John Moon at the corner of 40th Street.
"Why not step across? Look in the mirror,"
called John Moon as he stood on the opposite corner on his way back from Lucky's. Anne Carraway shook her head, and John Moon crossed over.
"It would be silly to stop to look at ourselves in a mirror on Christmas Eve,"
said Nicholas, who supposed John Moon meant a looking-glass. John Moon laughed, and Anne Carraway suggested waiting until after the carols to visit the favorite and the mirror.
The streets and shops will be less crowded then,
said she.
And we can buy presents for other people, as well as for you, John Moon.
"Are all the people in the world spending Christmas in New York?"
asked Nicholas as they stood on the crest of Murray Hill while hundreds of men, women, and children, carrying parcels of every color, shape, and size, streamed past them. High above Fifth Avenue at 42nd Street rises the traffic tower, and in it, like a captain on the bridge of his ship, stands the new traffic policeman, the policeman of the signal lights. When he flashes an orange light, long lines of shiny motor cars and taxicabs, black, orange, yellow, blue, brown, red, green, gray, black and white, brown and white, and checkered, come running north and south, down the avenue on one side, up the avenue on the other side, for 2 minutes. When he flashes a red light, everything stops, north and south, east and west. When he flashes a green light, 2 great armies of motor trucks and cars rush out from the side streets and run east and west for 2 minutes. At the same signal, all the people walking on Fifth Avenue who want to cross the street cross over.
"That is the finest set of flashlights I've ever seen,"
exclaimed Nicholas.
"I wish I could see how they are worked from inside. But I suppose no one ever climbs the ladder of the traffic tower except the policeman of the signal lights."
No,
said Anne Carraway.
The policeman of the signal lights looks out of every one of the windows in his little tower, north, south, east, and west. There's no room for anybody else up there.
"Let's move on with the crowd,"
suggested John Moon, stepping back from the curb where they had been standing to watch the signal lights.
"I've marched to music often,"
said Nicholas.
"but I never marched to lights before. Where do all the people come from, and where are they going, Anne Carraway?"
he asked as they walked on down Fifth Avenue.
I often wonder,
said she.
I like to think of them as Christmas folk, come from far and near on Christmas Eve, to walk or ride over the most beautiful street of the city, just because they love to do it. All the great parades march up and down Fifth Avenue, Nicholas, but the greatest processions of all are like the one we have just joined. Fifth Avenue is the street our soldiers marched down on their way to France, and it became a street of the world when it was hung with the flags of the Allies in 1918. Everybody came out to walk on the Avenue of the Allies, and one night all the motor cars and green buses were sent up Madison Avenue, and the people of New York danced on Fifth Avenue, right in the middle of the street. It was a wonderful time.
Why, there's the Waldorf,
exclaimed Nicholas.
Who on earth told you where to find the Waldorf, Nicholas?
Asked John Moon.
Nobody. I've seen pictures of it, and the Waldorf is marked on my map as the house where the King and Queen of Belgium stayed. King Albert was always slipping out incog at night to see the city from an airship, the Woolworth Tower, or on his own feet, and I intend to do the same thing from wherever I stay.
The Prince of Wales stayed at the Waldorf too,
said John Moon.
and so did Li Hung Chang.
There's one man at the Waldorf I should like to meet,
said Nicholas.
His name is Oscar, and he's a wonderful chef who knows just what to give all the famous visitors for breakfast, dinner, and supper. Do you know Oscar, Anne Carraway?
I've never had the pleasure of meeting him, Nicholas,
replied Anne Carraway.
But I've often seen his picture lighting the candles on a birthday cake, and I have visited his kitchens. Kitchens are much more fun to see than big empty ballrooms and bedrooms. There's always something cheerful going on in a kitchen, but cooks are not very fond of having visitors.
If Brownie would invite me to go with her, I'm sure it would be all right,
said Nicholas.
She probably knows the Waldorf cook. I'll ask her. Birds and dogs,
shouted Nicholas in big gold letters above the noise of the traffic at 31st Street.
I must have a look in the window of that shop. I can't wait to see what kinds of birds and dogs they keep here on Fifth Avenue.
I'll cross over with you, Nicholas,
said John Moon.
If you will cross right back again with me and have a look at the sailboats in my old toy shop window.
Pick me up at Brentano's in exactly 5 flashes,
exclaimed Anne Carraway.
I've thought of a present Nicholas must have on Christmas Eve.
And away she sped down Fifth Avenue, leaving John Moon and Nicholas to cross over to look in the window of Birds and Dogs, and cross back again on the next flash from the traffic tower to look in the toy shop window. When they came to 27th Street, Nicholas said,
Isn't Brentano's the shop where you can buy books in all languages?
It certainly is,
said John Moon.
But how came you to know about it, Nicholas?
The captain told me. He goes there often to buy books for his cabin, books in all languages. He said I would find wonderful picture books here, picture books from all over the world.
There was no time for even a peep inside the big bookshop, for Anne Carraway came hurrying out with a small flat parcel which she gave to John Moon to put in his pocket. Out into Madison Square they moved, with the great stream of Christmas folk. The snow was still falling, and the lights in the windows of the tall Flatiron building straight ahead of them glittered like hundreds of stars.
All the winds and mists gather about the Flatiron,
said Anne Carraway.
And sometimes the great building itself looks like a ship moving up Fifth Avenue.
Step back across the square for a moment, Nicholas,
said John Moon,
and take a good look at Diana on the tower of Madison Square Garden.
If the circus comes to Madison Square Garden,
said Nicholas,
it must be a bigger building than it looks from here to hold all the animals.
No sooner did Nicholas set foot in Madison Square than a bird-like voice rang out from the Christmas tree.
I'm lonely down here in Madison Square. I'm the last fairy left. Does nobody care?
Of course somebody always cares,
said Nicholas,
especially on Christmas Eve. But why do you stay here if you feel the way you sound? Why didn't you move away when the others did?
I stayed for 3 reasons,
replied the Madison Square fairy.
First, because I love Diana. Second, to keep Admiral Farragut company. He has nothing else except his field glasses, and with all the high buildings in front of him, he can't see very far. Third, I stayed, hoping to gather enough fairy light for the Christmas tree. You see, Nicholas, they use too much electricity. There's nothing magical about so many red and green electric bulbs. Diana says it looks more like a rocket than a Christmas tree.
Just then the chimes rang out from the Metropolitan Tower, and at the flash of its red beacon light, the Madison Square fairy flew out from the Christmas tree and perched on Admiral Farragut's shoulder, singing,
I'm gay as a lark in old Madison Square, since Nicholas looked on my Admiral fair.
I'll come to see the Admiral often.
said Nicholas.
I like him very much.
We must take a car down Broadway now,
said Anne Carraway.
or we shall be late for the carols.
As they stood waiting for the car where Broadway and Fifth Avenue come together, Nicholas suddenly called out,
What is that funny-looking thing running along so close to the ground? It looks like a big green caterpillar.
That is our Broadway car, Nicholas, and it opens by magic,
said John Moon. Sure enough, before the car stopped, the doors flew open on one side, and when Nicholas stepped in, he saw the conductor sitting high up in the middle of the car in a little ticket office on stilts. John Moon dropped some nickels into the box, and Anne Carraway found a vacant seat in the front end of the car, which looked just as queer inside as it did outside, the two ends being much higher than the middle.
This kind of a car was invented for ladies who wore hubble skirts to hubble into,
said John Moon to Nicholas as they stumbled in after Anne Carraway. The green caterpillar crawled rapidly down past Union Square, Grace Church, and City Hall Park, and when the doors flew open at the gate of Trinity Churchyard, ever so many children got out and quickly disappeared through one of the side doors of the church. The central doors were closed. Anne Carraway was about to follow the children into the church when Nicholas called to her,
Please wait a minute, Anne Carraway. I like to stand outside and listen to the chimes, and I think I've seen this place before. I want to make sure.
Just then Nicholas heard the same rumbling sound he had heard up in Bryant Park, and looking across the snow-covered churchyard, he saw an elevated railway train stealing down behind the old brown church.
Oh, now I remember. I rode past here on my way uptown, and there is the L station at the back, the first stop after Battery Place.
Old Trinity is nearly as old as the city, Nicholas,
said Anne Carraway.
and it belongs to everyone who loves New York. Before the tall building shot up so high, Trinity's spire could be seen for miles, and its bells and chimes could be heard over on Long Island and far down the bay.
I'm ready to go in now,
said Nicholas, and Anne Carraway led the way by the side door the children had entered.
There's something mysterious about those front doors,
thought Nicholas as he crossed the threshold, and discovered that the corresponding inside doors were closed also, and he said to himself,
I wonder what they do here on Christmas Eve.
End of chapter 3.